Hello everyone, I'm Jim Edwards. Welcome to On the Road. And this stop is in Bristol, Tennessee, and it's at an exciting place that you're going to see as the program progresses. And I'm standing with a young man here who is a legend in his own mind, in his own time. This is Junior Barr, and Junior was a star on The American Pickers, which is a show that you've probably seen on the History Channel. And Junior was on the show with Mike and Frank, and they came out and went through the place trying to buy stuff. First of all, Junior, thanks for letting us come and be a part of your day with this stop on the road.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Tell us a little bit about your experience with Mike and Frank from the American Pickers.
Well, Mike and them, they came out here from Iowa to look at some of my merchandise, and they're pretty nice old boys. Frank, I think he's about 46. Well, at the time he was 46.
Yeah. And then Mike, I guess.
Mike
yeah.
is 45.
Okay.
And they came out here and looked at all of my merchandise, and I sold them some signs and a gas pump and some other stuff that they didn't show on TV.
Uh-huh.
But they bought quite a bit off of me.
Right.
And,
well, how did they first contact you to be on the show?
well, my girls, they watch that show all the time, and they emailed them. And so they emailed my daughter back and wanted some pictures. So my daughter come out here and took a bunch of pictures and sent them back to them. And then they called me and talked to me for about an hour. And then they told me when they was going to be in Tennessee, they'd contact me.
Uh-huh.
So they contacted me, and that night and the next morning, here they came out here, pulled in the driveway, and started getting out, looking at everything, and then we started filming it and tell them what I wanted for it and what they'd give for it and different things like that, And,
the bidding war started, in other words.
bidding
Yeah.
war started, yeah.
Okay.
But they're pretty nice old boys, and I really enjoyed them,
Yeah, it's a great show. It's very popular, and I enjoy a lot of the stuff that they do too. A lot of the places that they go and find everything. They call it junk, but one man's junk is another man's treasure.
That's right.
And
That's right.
So, all right. Now, James, my cameraman, and I, between us, have I think $28. So you think we could find some stuff out here that we might be able to get away with for 28 bucks?
There might be a few rocks out here on the ground that you can buy off of me.
A couple of rocks you don't need anymore?
Yeah.
All right.
But, there may be something here you can buy. Just
All right.
have to look around and see what we got.
Okay, now it's not a rock, but when we first got here, I want to turn around a little bit if you'll turn with me. That big skillet on the wall. Now there's a smaller one beside it, but that one is huge. Now that'll make some good pones of cornbread.
Yeah,
Is that for sale?
Well, I probably would sell it
No.
if you're interested in it.
Right. All right. Remember, we got $28. How much can we buy that for?
I'd have to have a little bit more than that for that.
Right. I'm just kidding you. We've got a few more dollars between us, but on something like that, how much would you have to have for it?
Probably about $75 to $100.
75 to 100.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
On that one there.
Now the story of that one is, what is that? About a 40-pound skillet?
Well, they call that a chuck wagon skillet.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Chuck wagon skillet.
That'd make a lot, like I said, a big pone of cornbread.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
I guess
would.
fry a lot of taters in that or whatever.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Make a lot of taters and
All right.
onions.
All right. So we're at 70, 75 to 100.
Probably that's 75. I'd let you have it.
About 75.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I haven't done a lot of this, but in talking back and forth with people and trying to buy stuff, would you sell it to us for 65?
I don't believe I could hardly do that on that one. I've had quite a few people interested in that skillet.
All right.
And I believe I'd have to have 75.
At least 75?
Yeah.
All right, okay, all right. Well, James has given me the nod. We can go 75, so we can get that for 75?
Yeah.
All right,
75.
that's a deal. You want to shake on it?
Yeah.
Yes, sir, that's right. Okay,
so.
gentleman's agreement. All right, okay. Now, there is so much here at your location and so many things that I want to try to cover in our show. So is there anything you're particularly proud of that you'd like the folks to see and we maybe could bid on it?
Well, I kind of like that ceramic or porcelain Coca-Cola signs on top of that building.
Yeah, okay, all right. Well, let's move over and take a closer look. What do you think?
Okay.
All right. Okay, Junior, we're going to talk about the Coca-Cola sign. And now, just briefly, I wanted to mention there's a sign beside it. James will show you in just a second, but it's Mr. Cola, and we were talking about how I believe that was the first 16-ounce pop that came out several years ago, back in the early '60s, I guess. And,
Yes.
And I remember it. I don't know exactly the company that made it, but in any case, it was a pretty good deal, because back in the '60s you could still buy a 12-ounce bottle of pop, I think, for what, a nickel, or had it gone to a dime by then?
Nickel or 6 cents.
Something like that, yeah. But it was one of the first on the market, and it may have been 7 or 8 cents, I don't know. But now that Coca-Cola sign looks like it's in really great shape. Is that for sale?
Well, I would probably sell it, but I kind of like it. That's the reason I've kept it over the years like that.
You're attached to that one.
I'm kind of attached to it. But
yeah.
I would sell it for, the right price probably, but it'd take quite a bit to get it.
Quite a bit, more than we could probably think about having.
Probably.
Okay,
probably.
All right. I will leave it at that then. I don't even bid on that. But that is really neat, and in good shape like that too. Now, I guess a lot of people want to know, where do you find your items? Do you go out looking for them? People come and bring stuff to you?
I clean a lot of old houses out for people, and lots of times people, they just leave everything in the houses, and this guy has me to clean them out and pays me to clean them out, and then he lets me keep what's I want to keep in them, and then throw the rest of the stuff away. But I've found quite a bit of stuff in old houses over the years, and then I'd be maybe at somebody's barn or farm or something, and I'd see something in their barn, and I'd ask them about it, and they say, well, take it on, hang it on your house, and stuff like that. But and I went to a lot of estate sales and different things like that, and just here and there. I've done this for about probably 35 years,
My goodness.
Pick up stuff.
Did it just hit you one day, like, I just found this, and I think, well, how did it grow, I guess is what I'm asking.
Actually, there's an old man up on Massachusetts Avenue in Bristol there. He had stuff hanging up like this, and I got acquainted with him a few years ago, and I just kind of liked it, and I started doing it like he was doing it, and then I'd go up there to his house sometimes, and I'd say, Charlie, I said, how about letting me have this right here hang on my house? He said, Junior, you're taking all my stuff. And I'd say, well, you know where it's at. If you want it back, I said, it'll be hanging on my house. So it's just, that's the way I talk to people and have a lot of fun with this stuff,
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see a lot of younger people don't know nothing about this stuff, and sometimes people like school kids will come out here and want to know what this is and what that is, and I can kind of tell them a little bit about it,
Right. Now, do you actually have schools, whole classes come out, or just individually school kids?
One time there was a class that was going to come out, but they never did make it out here. And so I don't know what happened to that one. And but this is yesteryear stuff, and you don't see a whole lot of it anymore. And just everybody and their daddy, I reckon, is looking for it now.
Right.
But I enjoy, fooling with it and talking about it, and I guess, it's just something that I do in my lifetime,
Right.
That I enjoy.
Sure. That's the key to it. If you enjoy it, that's it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I know time is flying past on us, flying by real fast is what I'm trying to say, and I want to get some more stuff, if you will, on the show and see it. And so let's just move to another section and show some more of the stuff that you've got.
Okay.
All right. Junior, one of the things that I noticed that you've got a lot of, and it seems to be very popular with a lot of people, and especially Mike and Frank, or I think it's Mike, it really is into signs. and you've got some great signs here. And we were sort of talking about them a few moments ago. Of course, we hit the Coca-Cola sign, and that one we couldn't even touch. And by the way, I was able to bargain with Junior on a big skillet. It was called a chuck wagon skillet, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we got that pretty good deal, $75 for that. So I think we've done all right, because he was saying 75 to 100. So I guess we're a winner since we got it for 75. So let's get back to the signs now. You've got the Hex Sunbeam Bread.
Well, now this sign right here, that's a 1959 Hex Bakery was the name of that company. And it used to be down there on they started out down there on Blumville Highway, right in the corner of when you turn on Cardinal Hollow Road there, years and years ago. Of course, I don't remember it, but I've just been told that. That's where they started out at. But that company's it's done been out of business for years. Then Pet Milk Company there, it's out of business. And few signs I've got here, they're already out of business, and they're hard to find signs now.
I noticed that another popular drink is sort of making a comeback through advertising is Dr. Pepper. And that was sort of like a popular drink back in the days of the wars between Coca-Cola and Pepsi. Then along came Dr. Pepper, sort of made some waves. And so when people do come to visit you, and they're looking for a specific item, 9 times out of 10, will you have it?
Well, you know, lots of times there was a guy from over in the coal fields came out here one Saturday, and he was wanting an old coal bucket.
Uh-huh.
And he said, "You got any of them?" I said, "Yeah, I've got a couple of them." So I got him one. I priced it to him. And then his wife asked me if I had a coal shovel to go with it. I said, "Well, we'll look around here. There's probably one hanging up." So I found her one of them and sold it to her. And she really tickled her to death to get that. And but you know, I have people come here often, you know, looking for something, and sometimes I'll sell it, and sometimes I won't. You know,
Yeah.
it's just according.
Does it have to do with what the mood you're in at the time?
Well, maybe sometimes.
Or maybe the dollars speak a little bit.
Maybe the dollars, and maybe the mood too. You know,
Yeah.
if I'm busy doing something else. You know, I ain't got time to fool with them. You know,
Right.
But, different time. I mean, I enjoy people coming out looking at this stuff, you know, and I enjoy it just like they do, you know. And, but it's, you know, it's something different.
Sure.
In life that you'll never see no more of this, and you'll probably never see a lot of this hanging around like I've got it hanging around, you know.
That's true, right. Let me do something and back up just a little bit, because earlier in the show you were talking about how you ended up on American Pickers, and you mentioned your daughters. Let's mention their names and give them credit, because I think it's great that they did that for you.
Well,
just their first names will be fine.
Okay, I've got 3 daughters, Mary, Joy, and Teresa.
Okay. Do they all live locally?
One of them lives in Roanoke, and the other 2 lives in Bristol. And they're pretty good girls. They've helped me a lot in my life, you know.
Okay, so Junior's girls, thank you so much, because it was a great show on the American Pickers, and I certainly enjoyed it, and you did a great job, girls, so thank you. All right, now there's some stuff around front that I want to look at, and you talked about specifically making a sunflower out of a 50-gallon drum. I want to see that and get the story behind it, okay?
Okay.
All right, let's go. All right. Okay, Junior, we got to get the actual story about this big sunflower up here, and James is showing it now. You said you did that with a 50-gallon drum, or you made it out of a drum.
55-gallon drum.
Tell us about that.
Well, I had a bunch of cans down there in the garage and some bags, and I didn't know what to do with them. So one day down there, I said, well, I took some snips and I made these small flowers. And so I had this big old 55-gallon barrel down there, and I said, well, I'm gonna make one out of that and see how tough that is. So I got my saws all out and got that barrel, and I sawed that barrel 36 times, and you have to have a barrel that's got the end in it before you can cut it, because it's too floppy with the end out of it. You saw it, and then you cut the end out of it. And then I got this pretty yellow paint that I liked, and I just like to see what I could do with this one, so it turned out pretty, you know.
Yeah, it did. Yes, sir.
It was so heavy I had to get a pole to put it on. So,
Yeah.
I really enjoy it. A lot of people mentioned it to me about that flower, you know.
Very, very creative. Now, is it okay if I just touch one of the petals on it?
No, go ahead.
I mean, it's just for the effect. Oh my goodness, yeah, that is definitely a solid drum.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not flimsy.
That was a big oil can I had down there.
Yes, sir. And all right, now James is going to show you some of the other stuff along the front of your building here. Some really neat stuff, like for instance, and here's something probably that we won't ever see again. We won't ever see again is gasoline at 33.9 a gallon.
Well, I bought that sign there. I was down there in Morristown in an old barn down there, and this guy, I seen that sign down there, and I asked him what he'd take for that sign, and he told me. So I bought it and brought it back up here and hung it on the porch there. And this sign right here, I bought it, that shell sign.
Big hanging shell sign, okay.
Yeah, I bought it at a yard sale.
Uh-huh.
And there's quite a bit of stuff here I bought at the yard sale. These lanterns, stuff like that. Now, I like lanterns.
Right.
I bought some of them at estate sales, and some of them I found in barns and different things like that, you know.
Right. Okay, if you will, let's look right around here, because speaking of lanterns, and if James, if you can see them right there, I'm a railroad buff. I really like trains.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, back in the early days when the steam engines, when it was still a train, you know, that's my opinion, of course, the brakemen, they would use lanterns. So let's do some bargaining. Would you sell me those lanterns or a lantern? How would you sell them to me?
Well, it's according to which one you'd want. You know, there's different, I'd have to have different prices for different ones.
Different ones,
I've
right.
got more in some of them than I have the others, you know.
All right. Okay, I'm going to do this right here. I'll be right back. James, I'm going to point to that one right there, and you'll zoom in on that one. So Junior, you saw that one. Now, that one right there, right above the red sunflower.
Mm-hmm.
What's the best deal you can make me on that?
Well, on that one right there, I could probably take about $50.
$50.
Yeah.
Now, is it still workable? Could you still put coal oil in it, or kerosene?
I'd say you'd have to redo it a little bit.
Redo it a little bit?
Put a wick and kind of sandblast it a little bit.
All right, so if I'm going to have to do some work on it, can you give me a better price, maybe 35? I'm probably going to have to spend 40 on it, right?
I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll let you have it for 40.
40.
That's about the best I can do on that one now.
All right, now knowing them like you do, what's it going to cost me to recondition it?
Well, you know, I don't know exactly what it would cost. You'd need
Right.
to have it sandblasted and
Okay.
and a new wick and stuff like that put in it and repaint it. So, you know, I don't know. You know, different people charges different prices
Right.
on doing stuff like that.
All right, so now you're at 40. I offered 35. Will you split the difference and go 37.50?
Well, yeah, I might let you have it for that.
All right, okay, 37.50. And that's, you know, in the old days they called them coal oil lanterns.
Yeah.
And of course, I guess the real word maybe was coal oil, but kerosene, maybe that came later. But
lamp oil.
lamp oil, there you
Yeah,
go. Right,
we used
okay.
to call it that years ago.
Right, okay. Now, I guess we're getting close to being out of time, and I hate it because it's so much fun out here. Let me ask you this. Could we come back sometime
You can come
and
back
do another show with you?
Anytime you want to come back, that's fine with me.
Because like the old saying goes, we've just barely scratched the surface.
Well,
And there's so much more to see, and it is so neat out here.
Well, I've got a building down there. It's got a lot of stuff in it too that we need to open up maybe and look at it and the next time you come out or whatever, you know.
Yeah. All right, that sounds like a real deal to me. Okay. All right, Junior, I was going to say we're out of time for the show, but I had to come down to this building that you mentioned, and there's a lot of stuff in there. I'm going to back up just a little bit so James can see what's inside, and then I'm going to talk about what you put out here on the porch.
Okay.
And there you can see that there's some stuff in there. I noticed the wooden block with a crank on it.
That's a corn sheller.
A corn sheller.
That belonged to my granddaddy.
Oh, okay.
That belonged to my granddaddy.
Wow.
And this is an old military
gas can. Okay.
And this here right here is a churn, and this is an old coffee grinder, and this is a wind-up little tractor, but the little old rubber tractor broke on it, and it's real old. And then this is a $6 million man
lunchbox. Yes, sir.
And somebody kept their apparently they kept their
hey,
seeds in it.
Look at this.
They kept their seeds and stuff in it.
Can you see that, James? All right, good deal. All right, now here's something that I want to do too. This is really neat. I'm gonna hold this up so James can get a good shot of it. Now tell us about this.
Well, this is an old coffee grinder. Back then they bought their coffee and they had to grind it. So people had a coffee grinder at home, and they ground their own coffee.
Put the beans in there and just crank it, and
and this little drawer right
and there's
here,
where it pulled it out.
where it come out in there, then they made their coffee.
My goodness, this is so neat. And like I said a moment ago, Junior, we just barely scratched the surface, and I do want to come back. I mean, we'll come back, in a few months. Right now we're in January. It's a nice day though.
Yeah,
it's sort of cool, but it's not cold, and there's just so much here that I want to see. I want the folks to see, and so we'll definitely come back in a few months. Is that a deal?
That'd be fine.
All right.
Fine.
Now, in case you've just joined us on the road, this stop is at Junior's place out in Bristol, Tennessee. And I managed to get a chuck wagon skillet, iron skillet, for $75. And I was actually able to talk him down on a lantern. What did you call it?
Well,
it's a railroad lantern, I guess, or anybody's lantern for that matter.
It's not really a railroad lantern. It's a lantern. That type of lantern there was one that people carried to the barn to
Yeah.
milk
Right.
cows and things at night, you know.
Right.
And,
So I was able to bargain with him. He's tough though. I mean, he wanted 40 for the lantern. I offered 35. We agreed on 37.50. So I think we both had a good deal, don't you?
done a good deal.
We did. All right. Great. Well, I thank you for watching On the Road. And again, we'll be back to Junior's place in a few months and do another show. In the meantime, thank you for joining me on this stop, and I hope to see you next time on the road.